Unbelievable truth exposed. I revealed the 26 years of hidden family photos to 200 guests. Emma Johnson hovered by the attic hatch, her heart racing and muscles tense. The dim light flickered above her, illuminating the dust particles that danced in the air. What was she thinking? Was she really about to share her family's past with 200 guests in a few days? The golden anniversary of her parents felt like a celebration bound by chains, each layer of truth waiting to be exposed. What if this destroys them? She whispered, looking at the dusty box that held decades of memories. In the weeks leading to this moment, Emma had unearthed every photo, vivid snapshots of joy, disappointment, resilience, and despair. Each image beckoned her a siren song composed of moments she had buried in her heart. Her parents sacrificed so much for their family, turning their dreams into faded memories while she, too, made tangible sacrifices. Remaining in the small Texas town, she chose to care for her parents and family instead of advancing her nursing career, all the while feeling waves of regret crashing over her. How fair was it to unearth the struggle of their past to showcase their resilience? As she flicked through glossy pictures, moral dilemmas overwhelmed her. Would sharing these intimate pieces of history honor her parents, or would it dredge up emotions best left undisturbed? Am I a betrayal? She questioned silently, tightening the grip on the unused camera in her hand, its lens an artifact from a forgotten ambition. With every image she pondered, doubt flooded her. Anxiety coursed through her veins, echoing stories of hardship in a small town where shame clung to familial privilege. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Emma's internal conflict escalated, manifesting as a knot in her stomach. Her siblings debated her every instinct. One accused her of disrespecting their parents, another insisted it was a necessary reckoning for a fractured family. The closer she drew to the celebration, the more suffocating their reactions became. Her glances turned into conversations, those conversations into arguments, and she felt the walls closing in. Faces went taut with disbelief when their walls of secrecy began to crumble. What are those photos going to change? Her brother's voice echoed in her mind, thick with resentment. The night of the gathering loomed ahead, a tide waiting to crash. What would happen if this unveiling turned deadly quiet, or worse, erupted into chaos? The thought of rancor around the dinner table sat heavy in her chest, causing her breathing to hitch. At the heart of it all lay her fear, the weight of sacrifice held too tightly, the truth too potent to bear. As the hour crept closer, her resolve felt like fractured glass. What if exposing their past shattered the fragile bonds of love? The air was heavy with unspoken tensions as she neared the precipice of revelation. Would this hidden history bring them all together or plunge them deeper into a chasm too profound to escape? Emma knew one thing: the photos would not merely surprise, they would ignite the heart of a struggle best forgotten. Emma stood in the dimming light of her childhood attic, the air thick with the musk of old memories that seemed to beckon her deeper into introspection. She wasn't merely a vessel of family history, she was about to transform, confronting the labyrinth of contradictions that defined her existence. Each photograph represented a crossroads, pride, shame, joy, and sorrow all intertwined, a vivid tapestry that narrated the complexities of family life. She hesitated, the camera heavy in her hands. This object was a relic, an unfulfilled desire to capture her own narrative instead of merely playing the role others had assigned to her. Torn between sister, caregiver, and aspiring nurse, Emma now confronted her own longing for self-actualization in a small town that whispered deadlines instead of dreams. In that moment, clarity pierced the fog of confusion. She had always believed that caring for her parents was noble, but it was equally crucial to nurture her ambitions. To share her family's past was not to betray it, but rather an opportunity for healing, a way to channel her suppressed aspirations into a newfound strength. The gathering, once a source of dread, began shifting in her mind to a chance for growth, both for her and her family. Determination surged within her, as she thought of how repressed emotions had festered within the walls of their home. Breaking the silence could catalyze change, rekindle connections buried under years of obligation. The camera became her instrument of power, her way to reclaim the narrative and reshape her identity. Filing through the images, she began to feel the contours of what they represented, lessons steeped in struggle, and the promise that emerged from them. What if I presented it differently? She mused quietly, an idea blossoming in her mind. What if she reframed the narrative to focus not on shame but on resilience? Past pain shadowed each memory but also guided her forward. Instead of allowing the photos to expose her family's hidden struggles, she could highlight their strengths, the triumphs that illuminated their journey. They had lost so much in sacrifice, but they had also endured and evolved. Perhaps revealing the images could incite conversations rather than confrontations, laying the groundwork for understanding. Through her lens, she began to see herself unraveling, one shutter click at a time. Emma envisioned projecting the photos like a live gallery of emotions, showcasing the depth and breadth of her family's story amidst laughter, tears, and rich conversations. Maybe, just maybe, eliciting vulnerability could bridge the gaps born of distrust and resentment. Emma knew that transforming her fear into a presentation required her to confront the elephant in the room, her parents. She would speak to them personally about her intent, her desire to harmonize their past without wreaking havoc. The thought felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Their initial reaction was uncertain in her mind. Would they embrace this opportunity for open dialogue or react defensively? With the clock ticking down, a mixture of excitement and anxiety coursed through her. She realized this pivotal moment would demand not just a transformation of her family's narrative, but her own understanding of what it meant to be honest, brave, and authentic. The next few days would require her to put herself out there, testing not only her role in the family but her capacity for acceptance, for growth. As she turned off the lights of the attic, she felt lighter, more purposeful. This journey of discovery, driven by a desire to unveil the truth, had already set her on a path towards self-empowerment. But deep down, she recognized the challenges ahead would force her to step well outside her comfort zone. The anticipated confrontation with her parents loomed large, the moment to face them had arrived. What would their reaction be when she confronted them with this compelling new vision? Emma sat at the small, round kitchen table, the sunlight filtering through the window, obscured slightly by the lace curtains. The atmosphere was charged with an uncharacteristic stillness, as she peered at her parents, who sat across from her. This was more than just a simple family meal, it was the moment she had been preparing for, running through scenarios in her mind numerous times, each iteration sculpting her fears into courage. "Mom, Dad," she started, her voice trembling slightly as she wrestled with the words she had rehearsed. "I want to share something important with you." She paused, taking a steadying breath. The clattering of forks and the soft hum of the refrigerator filled the silence. She aimed her gaze firmly at them, desperate for their attention. "I've been going through old photographs, our photographs." Her mother's brow furrowed, a flicker of worry crossing her features. "What about them?" "I think those moments are crucial to understand who we are and where we've come from," Emma continued, deliberately grounding her voice. "I believe sharing them could open up genuine conversations. There's so much resilience and warmth in our story. I want to frame it differently than just pain." Her father shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his fork pausing mid-air. "What are you suggesting, Emma? That we just forget about the hardships?" "No, not forget," Emma said quickly, anxiety spooling into frustration. "Acknowledge them but focus on how we've persevered. Highlight our strength instead of lingering on our sufferings. It's not about sweeping the problems under the rug, it's about illuminating the light we've found in the darkness." Her mother exchanged glances with her father before speaking again. "And what could possibly come from this, Emma? Haven't we dealt with enough already?" The skepticism clawed at Emma's insides. But at that moment, she sensed that this was the very point of no return, her honesty and vulnerability would either resonate or fall flat. "Mom, Dad, I've been feeling trapped all my life. Being your caregiver, your daughter, it's been my identity, yet I've lost parts of myself in the process. Showing our imperfections, our struggles can be healing, not just for you, but for me. This is an opportunity for openness." Her parents looked at each other, the silence stretching taut. Emma felt her heart racing. Their expressions revealed uncertainty, an unsettling blend of concern and fear, but also curiosity. "Maybe you're right about the healing part," her father finally said, breaking the tension. "But it's a dangerous road to go down. You need to understand that not everyone will understand." "That's why I want to do this," Emma insisted. "To spark the discussions we've been avoiding for so long. I want the focus to be on resilience, on the love we've shared despite everything." Her conviction resonated, cracking the icy veneer of apprehension. "Let's share our story together. It doesn't have to hurt, it can foster understanding. This could be our chance for reconciliation, a path to healing for all of us." For a moment, the weight of her words hung in the air, palpable and raw. Her mother reached for her hand, her touch steady and warm. "If you believe this is the right step, then we'll stand by you. Just be gentle with your approach. Not everyone is ready for the truth." Emma nodded, feeling the seeds of her resolve take root. Their acceptance felt like a tenuous bridge, but it was the spark she needed to move forward. As the initial wave of relief washed over her, a new challenge loomed. The transition from family discussions to public sharing of their past would demand not just courage but skill and execution. She knew capturing the essence of their story through the lens of vulnerability and resilience wouldn't be easy. Would it resonate with others as she hoped? And what if it didn't? The next few weeks would demand her to put everything on the line to communicate, create, and, ultimately, inspire through the gallery of their past. Releasing her breath slowly, Emma whispered, "Tomorrow I start working on the presentation. It's time to turn our narrative into something powerful." The anticipation for what lay ahead surged within her. She only hoped everyone else would see the beauty she had found in her family's story, the untold depth of their journey. Would her vision translate successfully once exposed to the scrutiny of their community? Emma could only hope as she strategized the necessary steps, excitement mixing with the underlying anxiety of the unknown. As dawn broke, Emma moved through her morning routine with a mixture of exhilaration and anxiety. Each clatter of dishes and the rhythmic drip of the coffee maker echoed in her mind, setting the stage for the monumental task ahead. The weight of her decision pressed against her chest like a heavy stone, but this was no time for hesitancy. Once at her desk, she spread out her materials, the old photographs, a blank notepad, and the laptop that would serve as her digital canvas. A sense of purpose washed over her, dispelling the fog of uncertainty that had clouded her thoughts. This presentation was her chance to not only narrate her family's journey but also to reclaim a part of her identity that she felt had been overshadowed for far too long. As she shuffled through the images, memories burst forth like fireflies in the night. Each photograph was a fragment of their shared history, distant smiles captured against backdrops of both laughter and tears. Emma felt an invisible thread weaving through time. These images were a reminder of their perseverance, of the love that had endured against all odds. Determined to frame the narrative positively, she jotted down guiding themes: connection, challenges met with resilience, and the warmth that had flourished amid struggle. Each note transformed from a mere thought into a building block for her presentation, shaping a story she hoped would resonate with others in attendance. But as she expressed her intention to validate their shared experiences, doubts crept in, gnawing at her confidence. Would anyone truly understand their story? Behind the shadow of her parents' skepticism, she could hear the faint whisper of criticism lurking nearby, ready to strike whenever her family's imperfections were laid bare. Could she bear the weight of others' judgments on not only herself but the memories she sought to honor? That evening, Emma gathered her parents in the living room to discuss the format of her presentation. Sitting opposite one another, the three of them formed a triangle of tentative reassurance. "I'm thinking about starting with the photo from our road trip in '98, Emma proposed, her voice steady but edged with anticipation. "That was such a liberating moment for us, wasn't it?" "Liberating, yes," her father replied, but Emma caught a glimpse of that familiar reluctance creeping back into his features. "But you also need to address the hard times that led us there. They are part of the truth. I understand, Emma said, determination rising within her. But that doesn't mean we have to anchor ourselves in the pain. We can frame those moments as stepping stones, signaling our growth rather than focusing solely on the suffering. Her mother nodded slowly, her forehead creased in thought. You're right. Maybe we can use the painful moments not just as storytelling points but as illustrations of our strength. As they brainstormed, Emma realized that the path she had envisioned was collaborative, a mosaic of their struggles and triumphs pieced together. This was not solely her narrative, it was all theirs. The nerves subsided as she proposed ideas and their participation burgeoned. This collective effort shifted her outlook dramatically. She was no longer standing at the forefront alone but wielding the power of shared vulnerability. When the night deepened and tiredness set in, they had crafted the framework of her presentation together, punctuated by laughter and fleeting tears. The fear of judgment transformed into an understanding that they would stand together, wrapped in the protective cocoon of their relationship. Before bedtime, Emma took a moment to savor the calm that enveloped her. She understood that the journey ahead was still daunting, but the familial bond fortified around her was stronger than any external scrutiny. That night, she laid down to sleep with dreams swirling around the faces captured in those photographs. The uncertainty lingered, but a small voice whispered that the unveiling of their story might just breed openness, not only within her family but within themselves. As individuals. As sleep beckoned, a question lingered in the back of her mind: what if this unveiling could unlock hidden truths, not just for her family but for those around them? Tomorrow, she would take the first step towards discovering the layers beneath the surface. What revelations would bubble up as they prepared for a new chapter? Would she be ready for what awaited just beyond the horizon? The morning sun filtered through the curtains, igniting the room in a golden glow. Emma awakened from dreams still tinged with the weight of anticipation. Today was not just another day, it was a catalyst for something monumental in her life. With every breath, she felt her pulse quicken, her resolve firm up. She envisioned the old photographs pinned to the electrifying words she was about to share. As she sipped her coffee, its warmth infused her with energy. This wasn't merely a presentation, it was a tangible expression of her journey, an opportunity to bring her family's legacy into the light. Emma envisioned standing before the audience, with the photos projected behind her, each image a gateway to a shared experience that had forged her family's identity. Once at her desk, she reviewed her notes as a sculptor might inspect stone. Every theme she had crafted now represented not just ideas but powerful forces steering her towards self-discovery. She understood she was standing on the cusp of transformation, not just for herself but for her family. The vulnerability she had felt the night before was now morphing into a fierce determination. She was proud to reclaim this narrative. With the clock ticking down, Emma rehearsed. The words flowed like a river, but as she spoke aloud the lines she had meticulously crafted, shadows of doubt crept back in. What if her voice faltered? What if the emotional revelation fell flat before the audience? Drawing a deep breath, she forced herself to confront these unsettling thoughts. This was her truth, her family's struggles and triumphs were valid, not just in a whisper but in the boldest strokes of a brush. She refused to give way to fear. When her parents entered the room, she invited them to review her presentation one last time. The collective tension in the air coiled and relaxed as she shared her vision. It's our story, woven together through light and dark, Emma declared, her voice unwavering. She watched as their expressions shifted from skepticism to tentative belief. They too began to see it, their shared strength taking form amid uncertainties. Let's talk about that time the car broke down in the middle of nowhere, her father laughed, shaking his head at the memory. But beneath the humor was the unspoken truth of perseverance they had all experienced. The dialogue opened old wounds but also revealed newfound pride. Emotions were like tectonic shifts, carving the foundation for what they hoped to articulate together. As they delved deeper into their shared history, Emma felt herself leaning into the catharsis. This moment was not only about the past, it was also about unlocking the dimensions of herself she had kept subdued. Relationships had forever been woven into the fabric of her identity, but they were also the threads that bound her to her aspirations. Time moved swiftly, and soon it was time to leave. The car ride was filled with a nervous tension, laced with anticipatory excitement. With every mile, Emma felt her heart beat with the rhythm of hidden truths ready to be unearthed. As they parked, the venue loomed before them, colossal and imposing. Gathering her family close for support, she whispered, "No matter what happens, this belongs to all of us." Entrusting them with her gaze, she recognized the weight of their shared commitment. It was a moment that transcended fear, a perfect amalgamation of strength and vulnerability aimed towards honest revelation. As they stepped into the bustling hall, the hum of voices enveloped them. The air was thick with anticipation, but Emma felt a profound shift within herself. She was more than a daughter, she was the voice of her family's resilience. But as she made her way toward the stage, doubt slipped in once more. What if their story roused not sympathy but judgment? What if the wisdom hidden within their history went unrecognized in the chaos of collective narratives? This time she didn't stop. With each step, she brushed the doubts aside and focused on the heart of their story. Her time had come, and the layers within her. Desire for connectedness, honesty, and shareable humanity buzzed beneath the surface, eager to break free. As she ascended the stage, a familiar whisper echoed in her mind. Would the act of revealing their truths yield unexpected revelations, echoes from her own past that she wasn't aware needed sharing? The applause washed over Emma like a warm tide, momentarily drowning out her insecurities. She stood before the audience, a forest of unfamiliar faces, all expectant and hopeful. The projector flickered to life, illuminating the first photograph, a sepia-toned image of her grandparents' wedding day. For a heartbeat, she felt the weight of their gazes, and with it, the responsibility to present not just their history, but her own emerging identity as a storyteller. She began with the story of that day, the joy, the laughter, the struggles that marked their union. Her voice was steady, yet behind it, her heart raced with the simultaneous thrill of vulnerability and the pressure of expectation. Each word was a bridge, not only connecting her to her family but to an audience she had only just met. The photographs danced behind her, moments captured in time that begged to be brought back to life through her narration. As she spoke, she caught glimpses of her parents and the pride etched into their faces. Emma harnessed that energy, feeding off it. Yet, an unsettling sensation crept in as she fretted over the unknown reactions of strangers. Would they understand? Would her family's narrative resonate? As the presentation progressed, she transitioned into the stories behind the images, peeling back layers of hardships endured. With each revelation, she expected shadows of judgment, yet instead found glimmers of connection in the audience's eyes. Laughter broke through the tension during anecdotes, soothing her nerves even further. But lurking just beneath the surface was a tension she could not ignore. What if they encountered the rawest part of her truth and recoiled? Moving forward, she unveiled an image of a family outing from years past, a faded snapshot of a stolen moment at the beach. "Look closely," she encouraged, pointing out her younger self, a curl of hair plastered to her forehead, mirroring the lightheartedness she had momentarily forgotten. "Despite the chaos of life, we always found those slivers of joy. Those were the moments that carried us through," she emphasized, grounding her audience in a narrative of resilience. As she shifted to a photograph of her during a challenging family moment, a sense of collective awareness washed over the crowd. Her honesty sparked an unexpected embrace of vulnerability from within the audience. Eyes softened as shared stories began to unfurl, unbidden among them flickers of hope and reflection danced as she captured the nuances of loss and recovery through a simple image. In the act of revealing her family's truths, Emma unearthed something far more profound, the undeniable interconnectedness of human experience. Completing her presentation, she felt a rush of warmth from the genuine applause that followed. In that moment, something profound blossomed within her. The act hadn't been solely about recounting her history, it had catalyzed a transformative journey towards self-acceptance. Yet, as her heart swelled with gratitude, doubt lingered like a restless ghost. Had she truly conveyed all of her family's nuances? What stories remained untold? It was then that she realized this was just the beginning. As she stepped off the stage, scattering thoughts swirled in her mind. Questions she'd long kept buried clawed for attention. What if her story had the ability to not only heal herself but others as well? Emma caught sight of an older gentleman in the back who bore resemblance to her grandfather. Instinctively, she felt the pull of untold stories, revelations yet to be uncovered. As she moved toward the crowd, she couldn't shake the question stirring within: who else among her audience held hidden narratives waiting to emerge, perhaps challenging her to confront her past even further? What awaited her in the unknown wasn't just closure, it was an opportunity for profound connections and possibly an even deeper revelation about her family's past. As Emma strode through the crowd, anticipation mingled uneasily with trepidation. She felt a growing fire within her, not yet entirely understanding its source. The applause had faded, but the warmth of the moment lingered, wrapping around her like a comforting blanket, coaxing her toward deeper revelations rather than retreat. The older gentleman, hunched slightly with silver hair, caught her attention again. His gaze lingered on her, a mixture of curiosity and recognition sparking in his eyes. When she reached him, her heart quickened as she wondered what he might know. "I couldn't help but notice the resemblance," he said quietly, his voice rich with nostalgia. "Your grandfather spoke about family ties like they were sacred." Emma paused, curiosity piqued. She had never heard much about her grandfather's life before moving from the small town where he had grown up. "You knew him?" The question slipped out before she could second-guess herself. His eyes softened. "More than you know. He was a storyteller, just like you." Her breath hitched as she felt a connection to this man, a bridge to a familial past she had long yearned to understand. He had a way of bringing people together, sharing the essence of who he was through tales of birthdays, weddings, and even losses. She could almost see the stories fluttering behind his words, like the photographs from earlier. Emma felt her own narratives wanting to spill forth, fresh and raw. "Did he ever talk about the harder times?" The man nodded gravely, his expression shifting to one of understanding. "He did. It's what made him human, made him real. Every family has shadows, and sometimes it's the shadows that bind us." Her heart pounded in empathy and urgency. "Then why do we hide these stories? Why do we allow them to be swept under the rug?" He smiled softly. "Because it's easier to speak of joy than of grief. But storytelling can make those shadows bloom into something beautiful. You, my dear, might be the key to unlocking your family's full narrative." With each word, he ignited something within her. Emma realized that revealing intimate truths coaxed progress not merely for herself, but potentially for her family as a whole. She could feel those stories stretching back through generations, waiting to be set free. Pondering his words ignited a fire of action. She wanted to delve deeper. "Can you share any stories?" she asked, her voice trembling with urgency. "Did my grandfather leave something behind, a trace of where he came from? Some piece of his history that could help me understand?" The man waved for her to follow him to a side room that felt more intimate, with the hum of the festival muted behind them. "I've only got some old scrapbooks, but they might wield the answers you seek." As they moved inside, she felt a mix of excitement and anxiety churning within her. Who knew what treasures lay hidden within those pages? But buried alongside that excitement was a gnawing uncertainty. Would this new journey reveal truths she wasn't ready to confront? With every fiber of her being, she recognized the significance of this moment, not just for her storytelling, but for the legacy of all that had come before her. Emma reached for the first scrapbook, a wave of fear and exhilaration crashing together. What would she uncover? The moment held her breath hostage as she flipped through, the delicate pages whispering secrets from a past she had yet to truly understand. Yet, in the quiet of this clandestine search, a nagging question lingered: would these revelations empower her, or would they strip away the innocence she clung to as she grappled with both her family history and her identity? The moment of truth felt just within reach, and Emma felt her heart racing, teetering on the edge of discovery and resolution. What lay ahead had the power to redefine everything she thought she had known. As Emma's fingers brushed against the first pages of the scrapbook, a myriad of emotions swelled up within her. Each turn of the leaf revealed faded photographs, sepia-stained edges, and hastily scrawled captions that hinted at a life woven with secrets, moments that resided in a universe she had yet to explore. The older gentleman remained quiet, leaning slightly to observe her expressions as if he understood the magnitude of what lay ahead for her. She took a deep breath and steadied herself. Engaging with these materials felt akin to gazing into a reflective pool. What she would uncover could either amplify her sense of self or challenge everything she'd ever believed. A small picture caught her eye. It was a backyard barbecue from years prior, families thronging together, joy radiating from their faces, but Emma felt a twinge of discord. Her grandfather's expression, fixed yet distant, spoke volumes about the duality of existence, moments of happiness marred by untold stories, the shadows that had not seen the light. "Your grandfather often spoke about those barbecues," the gentleman finally said, his voice soft and contemplative. "He cherished those family bonds dearly, even when so much remained unspoken." Emma looked up, the weight of unfulfilled stories pressing on her. "What did he keep hidden?" The man sighed, as if stumbling down a sorrowful path. "He faced hardships, losses that would silence a lesser man. But in the silence, he found strength. It's where his stories began, behind the laughter." That notion hung in the air, palpable and ominous. The question of whether revealing these hidden narratives would strip away Emma's innocence mingled with the undeniable allure of growth. Could confronting shadows show her the way forward? She picked up another page, the ink faint but legible, recounting a family reunion at a lake, an unfamiliar place that seemed to pulsate with both joy and grief. Flipping the pages became a ritual of discovery, each image bearing witness to her lineage. An old letter crumpled between two photos slipped free and fluttered to the floor. Emma felt an urgency to pick it up, her fingers trembling slightly as she unfolded the yellowed note. It bore her grandfather's handwriting, full of reluctance, yet resolute. "I wish I could tell you everything," it began. The ink bled slightly, the ink's spillage echoing her own emotions. "But some stories linger in the shadows, waiting for the brave to bring them to light." The gravity of those words struck Emma. It felt like a summons, calling her to unearth what had been buried. But why conceal them at all? Why not face them together? She asked, half to herself, her voice coated with anger and confusion. "Fear can cripple even the strongest," the man responded. "Facing the truth can feel like venturing into a storm without shelter. But remember, you have the power to reclaim those stories, reshape them." Emma's mind raced. Beneath her well-constructed narratives, what truths lay dormant? What abilities could she tap into as she negotiated the fragile balance of preserving her family's legacy while uncovering profound revelations? This was no longer merely a quest for knowledge, it was an expedition for her identity, the very essence of who she was, forged in the crucible of her heritage. She flipped through more pages, each one potentially unlocking profound insights or unleashing hidden pain. The inner conflict burgeoned, a wrestling match not just with her family's past, but with herself. Was she prepared to weave her own truth into the fabric of her lineage? The scrapbooks were portals, and as the clock ticked away, they beckoned her further. She caught a glimpse of a photograph showing a stacked collection of family portraits atop a mantel, one blank space conspicuously left unfilled, as if waiting for her. A sudden realization dawned on her. She wasn't merely a passive observer in this narrative. She was becoming an active participant. Driven by this epiphany, Emma resolved to confront the unanswered questions both in the scrapbooks and in her own heart. What awaited her in the next realm of familial uncovering? Her pulse quickened at the thought. The investigation was just beginning, and she was ready to defy the shadows that encased her lineage. Whatever lay ahead would reveal more than family secrets, it might just redefine who she was meant to become. A determination bubbling within her, Emma turned the page, staring down a path that felt both foreign and thrilling. "What more are you hiding from me?" She whispered into the dim light of the room, a question that hung heavily in the air and echoed through her mind. Emma released a slow, steadying breath, the parchment whispering as she turned to the next page. The dust motes danced in the dim light filtering through the window, each suspended particle feeling like a fragment of her grandfather's past. With every flick of her fingers, she felt a wave of anticipation wash over her, mingling with trepidation about what lies beneath the surface. The blank space in the portrait collection loomed large in her mind, a challenge to fill it with her own narrative, her own identity. The sharp ink of a new caption jolted her back into focus. 50 years gone, yet the memories linger of joy, of regret. The words sent a shiver along her spine. What could those regrets entail? The man's earlier remarks echoed in her thoughts, fear residing in silence. Was that what her grandfather felt, or was that fear something that connected across generations? Emma was determined not to carry that fear into her own life. She opened her heart to the exploration, aching for answers but just as desperate to acknowledge her own courage. She needed to embrace the shadows, the unspoken fragments of her family history she had been so unprepared to confront. The pages turned more quickly now, revealing unremarkable moments alongside breathtaking events, birthdays, anniversaries, and fleeting laughter, all captured in faded colors. Yet not one photograph unveiled the heart-wrenching narrative she sought. Questions spiraled in her mind. What had her grandfather shielded her from? How many of these images belonged to a happier time, and how many masked profound sorrow? The man's steady gaze lingered on her collected expressions, and she finally turned to him, a question burning in her throat. Why wouldn't he tell me? Why keep these secrets, especially when they could teach me so much? He carefully considered her question, as if it held a universe of complexity. Stories have layers, Emma. Sometimes, the truth feels like an insurmountable burden. He may have believed shielding you from pain was an act of love. Love. The word hung heavily between them, an impenetrable barrier to self-discovery. Would it be deemed love if it shackled the very fabric of who she was destined to become? Emma's chest tightened with frustration. She wanted to break the cycle of silence, to hold those untold truths within her, to marry learning with inherited strength. With renewed resolve, she developed a plan, skimming through the pages and mentally cataloging themes and moments she could follow. Certain photographs looked tantalizingly close to small gatherings in their own spaces, a location she might visit. Would there be more stories delving deeper into personal histories? Were each moment captured like a breadcrumb leading her back to forgotten conversations? As Emma flipped the next page, her heart raced. This time, a photograph depicted a younger version of her grandfather with a woman Emma did not recognize. The woman's smile radiated warmth against the chiseled features of her grandfather, a stark contrast that made Emma's stomach lurch. "Who are you?" she whispered, as though the photograph might somehow answer her. The man beside her leaned in, peering closer at the image, recognition flashing across his face. Ah, Clara, a friend from his past. Friend. The word resonated heavily, but Emma's thoughts were already racing ahead. Why was Clara significant enough to have her image immortalized in the scrapbook? Was Clara the woven thread between light and shadow in her grandfather's life? The urgency ignited by this question coursed through Emma's veins. Clara was not just a name, she was a lead. There was a truth tethered to that unfamiliar face, a story just waiting to come forth. Emma resolved to investigate further, determined to embrace this newfound purpose. As she turned back to face the man, eyes alight with fierce determination, her voice punctuated the air with conviction. I need to find Clara. She holds the key to understanding him and, ultimately, who I am. The man nodded, the weight of her decision settling in the room like a thick fog. Emma's conviction solidified, an ember igniting a blaze of purpose. She would trace these strands, releasing the secrets kept in her grandfather's silence, forging a path for herself through the labyrinth of family history. With the next chapter calling to her like an uncharted map, she made her way to the door, determined to unearth the truth behind every smile and shadow. What truths awaited her in Clara's world? Emma stepped forward, propelled by a mix of fear and fierce hope, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. The journey had begun. Emma stood at the threshold of a new chapter, a potent mix of panic and excitement coursing through her. The importance of her quest heightened at the realization that each revelation about Clara, her grandfather's friend, was also a step toward her own self-discovery. The road she was about to travel might unearth not just hidden family truths, but layers of her own identity that had long remained dormant. As she navigated the small town punctuated with echoes of her childhood, each step resonated with renewed purpose. Her phone buzzed incessantly with messages from family, filled with questions about the recent presentation and the stories unveiled, but her focus remained steadfast. Clara was the key to unlocking the remaining secrets shrouded in her grandfather's life. Emma envisioned the conversations they could share, the history that could emerge, and through this journey, it felt as if she were constructing the final pieces of a personal puzzle. After some research, Emma discovered Clara lived on the far side of town. The closer she drew to Clara, the more she felt her heart race, not just with nerves but with anticipation of connection. Would Clara shed light on the man her grandfather had been, uninhibited by the constraints of familial expectations? Upon arriving at a quaint, weathered house, Emma's resolve faltered momentarily. She felt like a ghost intruding on a sanctum, ready to unearth stories that had been preserved but never shared. Taking a deep breath, she rapped gently on the door. When Clara opened it, the warmth that spilled out was like a burst of sunlight, illuminating Emma's uncertainties. Clara's eyes sparkled with age and wisdom, as if she had seen decades' worth of life unfold but had an untouched reservoir of stories still to share. "Emma!" Clara exclaimed, her voice a familiar sound of kindness as if welcoming a dear friend. "What brings you here?" "I've come to understand more about my grandfather," Emma started, her voice trembling with the possibility of vulnerability she was inviting. "I found your photograph in his scrapbook. You were important to him, weren't you?" Clara's face softened, and a momentary silence enveloped them, filled with volumes of untold histories. "Ah, your grandfather, he was a remarkable man, full of love and untold burdens." The words flowed like a river, and as they sat together on Clara's modest porch, the stories began to emerge. Embracing this authentic connection, Emma felt the shackles of her inherited past loosen. Clara spoke of adventures, heartbreaks, missed opportunities, the weight of her grandfather's sacrifices laid bare through her memories. Each layer peeled back revealed the man Emma had longed to understand. Yet these narratives transcended mere family history. They held queries that resonated deeply within Emma's spirit, awakening insights about her own sacrifices and the dreams she had placed on hold. "He was afraid," Clara confessed during one of their many discussions. "Afraid of his past disrupting the future he wanted for his family." As the conversation deepened, Emma interjected with her concerns regarding her own life's decisions, the impact of her caregiving on her ambitions. In Clara's words, she found the validation that her fears, like her grandfather's, were universal and part of the broader tapestry of human experience. "Facing those fears can empower you," Clara encouraged. "It sounds like you're already on the path. You've unveiled truths that many would stifle in silence." In those moments, fueled by Clara's wisdom, Emma began to weave her grandfather's truths into her narrative, encountering growth and confrontation while slowly extinguishing her fears. By the end of their meeting, she grasped the essence of what it meant to honor both the light and shadow of her family's past. With renewed conviction, every story shared cemented Emma's self-awareness and sparked a passion to fearlessly navigate her future. Her mission had extended beyond just delivering the past, it had become about shaping her identity through understanding. With Clara's guidance, Emma felt fortified in her journey, ready to embrace potential change, and confront both her courage and her aspirations alongside the legacies she was unearthing. As she returned home, flooded with inspiration, Emma felt a remarkable transformation within her. She was no longer just the caregiver tethered to her family dynamics, she had grown into an empowered storyteller, the torchbearer of her family's legacy. Her heart brimmed with pride as she envisioned future presentations that would intertwine her reflections with her grandfather's truths, a continuity of stories honored and embraced. Finally stepping into the realm of fearless authenticity, Emma resolved to write not just a narrative of the past but one that forecasted a vibrant future. The secret to her empowerment lay not in fear of judgment but in the truth she had come to understand and the heritage that flowed through her veins. Embracing the complexity of her family's history, she opened her heart to the next phase of her journey, one where she would conquer doubts and elevate her voice. This was not the end, it was merely the beginning, a gateway to deeper connections, both within herself and with those who came before her. Emma stepped forward with undeniable confidence, the chain of unspoken stories broken, she was ready to write her own truth. Now, dear viewers, this is your moment to engage. You need to subscribe now for more exclusive emotional stories like Emma's journey that inspire profound personal growth. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure these narratives reach those who need them most. Comment below your reactions and any theories you have about Emma's incredible revelations, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who could benefit from embracing their truths too. Don't wait even one more second to show your support. Each action counts in building our community of overcoming challenges and forging connections through stories that matter.